Now let's talk a bit on UFC 241 aftermath. Last night, Stipe Miocic won the UFC heavyweight title, finally stopping Daniel Cormier with 8 unanswered punches in the 4th round. It was a triumphant moment for Miocic, who had insisted for a year that his first fight with Daniel Cormier was a pure fluke, that he would reclaim the title if given a chance. But more than that, it was a triumphant moment for the UFC. Had Cormier won the fight, the general feeling was that he'd probably retire or possibly take a third match against Jon Jones. But the loss sets up a trilogy fight between the two best heavyweights in the world for the UFC. It could have been big business, and more so than any other division, trilogy fights have come to define heavyweight and its numerous eras. In the boom period of the UFC, it was Tim Sylvia and Andrei Arlovsky. In Pride, it was Fedor Emelianenko and Antonio Rodrigo Nogueira. Then it was Brock Lesnar and Frank Mir. And finally, Cain Velasquez and Junior Dos Santos. Each of these series kinda helped us elevate the fighters involved and the sport itself to new heights. Miocic is a great heavyweight, one the UFC continues to bill as the greatest of all time, but despite that, he's never been a huge draw. In part, that's because of his personality, because there's a cap on what he can become, but it's also in part because Miocic has not had a true rival to butt up against. But now he does. Or at least he might. The talk surrounding Cormier coming into the fight was about retirement, and after getting stopped in a fight, he was clearly winning. That talk is only sure to increase, especially as Cormier has now been knocked out in 2 of his last 5 fights. Even Cormier admitted as much in the post-fight presser, saying he knows it's not good that he's been finished twice now. He said losing was terrible for him and announced that he was a competitive guy, and he's right about that, At 40 years of age, getting knocked out is not good, but that interview also reveals Viator the competition against Miocic might happen, and Cormier is a competitor. There's no chance he wants to retire on a loss, especially on a knockout loss, and the fact is that Cormier was winning the bout until he lost it. An excellent adjustment from Miocic, ended his early night, but Cormier has to think he'd win a third fight, but Stipe Miocic magically changed to liver shots and head blows. And maybe Cormier will now reclaim the title, who knows. But whether he will is another thing entirely. Though Miocic was losing the fight early, he's also the one who made adjustments. His decision to attack to the body was something that Cormier was pretty much never expected, and he didn't know to defend in a third fight. Think Miocic attacking midsection early on and often, and that could change the entire complexion of the fight. After all, Jon Jones' bodywork in his rematch with Cormier is what allowed him to knock out this seed. That's why a trilogy has to happen. Miocic and Cormier, they are perfectly foil for one another, and sure, their personalities, I don't think they clash in the same overt way that DC and Jones do, but their in-cage abilities are much better suited to one another. Both can box and wrestle, make adjustments, and now we know that both men can hurt each other. A third fight between the two is a legitimate toss-up with any number of possibilities, and the title of the baddest man on the planet up for grabs. And there's nothing quite like a true rivalry between the best heavyweights in the world, and the UFC, I believe, finally has it once again.